This video provides a step-by-step TCG deck build for an AlHaitham Nuke damage team with Raiden Shogun and Kujou Sara. The goal of this deck is to maximize AlHaitham's burst damage with the support of Kujou Sara and Raiden Shogun's skills. The deck also enables Haitham to generate several dice and draw relevant cards. While this deck has proven successful in the Arena of Champions, it's more suitable for casual play due to its emphasis on fun and less focus on competitive meta strategies. If you're looking for one of the strongest Haitham teams, I'd recommend watching this video instead. As usual, the video is divided into several chapters, so use the timestamps for your convenience. Before we begin the video, note that this time I haven't added multiple showcases to show different plays and strategies in the end, but instead have taken clips from multiple matches and aligned them against their explanations. There is only a single showcase at the end, focusing on the rotations and ideal card setup. Deck building. Let's start by having a look at the abilities of the characters we will make use of in the TCG deck. Firstly, we have Raiden's skill, which generates an Electro summon that will provide Electro at the end of every round. Furthermore, while this summon is on field, characters' bursts deal +1 damage. Ideally, we want this summon to be on field for as long as possible to facilitate elemental reactions and add damage to the several bursts this deck relies on. To make best use of this in our Haitham team, we will add a Quick Knit card to increase the usage of this summon. Next, Raiden's burst will provide the other two characters 2 energy. This allows us to quickly use our bursts to set up Kujou's summons and the Dendro application for Haitham. For Kujou Sara, we will mainly focus on her burst, since it will provide Haitham with 2 uses of +1 elemental skill and elemental burst damage, which forms the basis of the Nuke damage numbers. Kujou can also make use of the Quick Knit card we added for Raiden. Keep in mind that to benefit from the deck, you can either use skill or burst rotations to buff Haitham, but using burst rotations are preferable since it gives sufficient time to set up the remaining cards that will be utilized. For AlHaitham, we'll focus on his bursts and his normal attacks. Since the deck facilitates multiple bursts, we will add his talent card that provides him 3 Chisel Light mirrors as long as he consumes at least 1 Chisel Light mirror. For normal attacks, we can add Light of Foliar Incision, which generates 1 Omni dice for every normal attack and adds +1 damage. We don't need to worry about the aligned element cost of the cards, since we have 2 Inazuma characters, which allows us to use a card that converts all dice to Omni element. In this deck, the catalyzed reaction will increase the damage of the Electro attacks. In summary, with all our main cards in the deck, it should look something like this. Increased summon duration with Quick Knit card, increase of damage for Haitham's burst with Light of Foliar Incision, his talent card, Kujou Sara's and Raiden's on-field summons, Electro energy cards to help lower the cost of Raiden's first burst, simultaneously allowing for a more expensive build-up elsewhere. It can also be used for other characters in case Raiden's burst is hindered. Finally, Electro dice cards and Thunder and Eternity card, which will convert even our Electro dice cards to Omni dice for Haitham if necessary, or makes the Lo-Fi card a viable option in terms of aligned elements. Now that we picked the main cards to meet the deck goal, we need other cards to help facilitate this deck. The cards I chose are as follows. The Day of Resistance Arcane card, which will be used to protect Haitham while he executes buffed attacks. Storm Terror's Lair, since costs are high for Raiden and Kujou's bursts. This card will usually be set up in the second round and is good to have in the first hand. Borukasha's Glow, Heart of Quarena's Brilliance, Chang the Ninth, and Treasure Seeking Sealy for card pulls. These are also good cards for the first hand. For dice generation, we use the Boar Princess, Lyre Song, and Gilded Dreams, as well as the Parametric Transformer. Vanarana to collect unused dice, the Gambler's Artifact so that Haitham can deal multiple instances of damage per round after defeating an opponent character. Rainbow Macarons or any healing cards like the Favonius Cathedral or Shields can also be used, considering how stretched out the setup is for this deck. The Vanessa card can also be put to use. You can also add cards that require a lot of card pulling or dice in this deck. Now let's look at the strengths and weaknesses of this deck. After the setup is complete, Haitham can deal high damage numbers in a single hit, defeating a character card in a single shot or multiple characters in a single round. The energy cost is low, and the dice generation as well as aligned element is easy to obtain in this deck. The dice generation provides several opportunities as leverage against the opponent, creating up to 18 dice in a single round. Another strength of the deck is that it has 2 Inazuman characters, which allows the use of a powerful Inazuma card and Electro Resonance cards. This allows the Omni dice generation to be extremely convenient. Now on to the weaknesses. And as we discuss the weaknesses of the deck, I'll be giving suggestions for how to combat them. Due to a lack of diverse elements, if the Dendro unit dies, it becomes quite difficult to clutch. If the opponent has summons on their side, Haitham cannot be on field at the end of the turn to gain Kujou Sara's buff, or he risks losing a lot of health. In this case, the 4-leaf sigil may be able to help as well as shields. If the opponent has a card that generates dice every time you do, then it tends to create problems unless they have already ended their turn. The biggest weakness of the team is that an ideal scenario heavily relies on the build-up. This means that the team is vulnerable to freeze teams, animo characters, and overloads that mess up or slow down the process. But this can be combated by tweaking the playstyle. To some extent, it can be fixed by adding the Edict of Absolution Arcane card. The next weakness is when the off-field characters take too much damage before their turns. This can be fixed by food that provides shield for all characters on your side. As you can see that while AlHaitham defeats most characters due to his on-field time, he also tanks the most damage. Mitigating as much damage as possible is ideal for his turn. And as always, the fatal flaw of Genshin TCG. Meta decks. Solution? Send a love letter to whoever saying, "We all know you can create balanced cards considering how skillful you are at perfectly dodging every attempt to release them. Sincerely, a player who somehow stuck around with TCG." Anyway, if you guys have suggestions for other suitable cards to enhance this deck, then share your ideas in the comments.
The campaign begins. Shine down! Rolling streak! Whipping all the way. Quitter! Shine the trays! Stay close and you will live. Under full silent.
Yes.
Whipping all the way. Strike! Position!
How long will this require exactly?
It's time for the curtain to fall.
The process of elimination.
Don't look at me like this. I will lead us to victory. I am defeated.
Yes.